and welcome to Elvinley Railways. When I started this channel, it was all about my N Gauge layout, Elvinley. Well, I haven't done that many videos about Elvinley in the past few months, so I thought I'd do another one now, but specifically about N Gauge sound, and specifically from Graham Farish, Backman, because they've produced quite a few now. Might give you a few more ideas of whether you think they're worth buying or not. So to start with, we'll just have a quick look at my layout in case you haven't seen it before. So this is Elvinley. Construction started about 2007. Initially it was in my home in Weston-super-Mare, but now it's moved to Carmarthen with me. Most of the footage on this video has been filmed using this controller. The only exception is this first part with the Class 14, which is running on the branch. That's just connected to a DC controller, a Gauge Master. The controller's flat out right now, but the loco is just crawling along, and it runs very well indeed. But I haven't got access to the horn and various things with the DC controller. I remember when Farish announced that they were going to do this as a sound-fitted loco, I couldn't believe it was ever going to happen, but it did, and they actually preceded it by producing the 08 with sound. Like many of their other sound-fitted locos, this was produced without sound first, and it had to be modified pretty drastically, this one, to fit the sound in. Same with the 08. Got most of the sound-fitted Farish locos, but there's a few missing in the collection because they're a bit modern for me, so I'm really worried about getting them. But I wouldn't mind a Class 47, and they have got the XP64 Class 47, which looks very nice indeed. So if anyone's got one of those going spare, let me know. I've been modelling N Gauge since I was probably about 10 or 11, something like that, or maybe even younger. So we're talking around sort of early 80s, probably late 70s, early 80s I would have thought, when I first started doing N Gauge. And the way it's progressed now is incredible compared to what it used to be. I think my first loco was a little Fleischmann tank engine, which my parents bought me. I never thought it would end up how it is now. Everything's just so much finer, the details and the running capability is incredible now. Some people have said that you can't have N Gauge going very slow, but that's absolutely not true, so if anyone says that, just ignore it. You can have it crawl just as slowly as anything else, especially when it's running on DCC. It just depends. You've just got to get an engine that's running perfectly, and if you don't, get it sent back and get one that does. That's my advice anyway. The next loco I'm going to feature is the Farish Standard 5, which is one that they brought out fairly recently with sound. The loco had already been released, but they've upgraded it, brought it out with sound, and again they've done a very good job, and you can see how slow this will crawl. Yes, it is actually moving, believe it or not. The great thing is that all these locos have got very similar controls. So a brake control, which is number 2, is the same for all the locos. You know that a whistle's going to be on number 4, drain cock's on number 3, so they do try and keep them very similar. There are some small differences, but nothing too major. the start of the video, I was controlling everything myself and filming it, but as it went along, I got the help of Sarah. I sort of got her involved, and she did a really good job. So you'll see that some of it has a lot more action going on while it's being filmed, and whistles and various things. And yeah, she's very good at that. So thanks to Sarah for that. I'm certainly not doing this to show off at all about my locos. I just wanted to show you what I gleaned from my little collection of Farish sound fitted locos. I found them to be very good personally. I'm really impressed, and yeah, I think if they carry on like this, I'll be very happy, and I'm sure a lot of people will. This next loco is a 4F, or a Duck 6 as my dad used to refer to them as, and I think it was a fairly common nickname. This loco was something that Farish brought out a long time ago, but has been completely retooled. They brought out the retooled one a few years back, and then they brought it out with sound since then. This turned quite a few heads when this loco was released for its fidelity to the prototype, and for the inside valve gear that is modelled. Obviously it doesn't move, but it's there. You can see it. You can actually see the backs of the wheels on the other side from here. Again, it's a very good slow runner if you want it to. And this one hasn't had that much use. Again, it's a fairly recent one to come out with sound fitted to it, whereas the model's been out for a while. And so this one, I think you can still pick up. Some of the locos on here are very hard to find now, but this one you can certainly find in the shops. The next loco I'm going to feature is the 2MT, the Ivet 2MT in preservation livery. Lovely little locos these, and I've got two with sound, but one of them isn't the actual Farish sound. It was a different sound project that someone did. Again, very good sound, but I did pick this one up more recently. This is a Collectors Club special, and yeah, again, very good sound, very good running, absolutely amazing, amazingly smooth running actually, this one. I don't think I did any footage of it doing any slow speed on this video, but it really does run amazingly well at slow speeds. It's completely smooth. They did remotor them because the older ones weren't quite as smooth as that. This is an 08 which I fitted Stay Alive to, and in the process I slipped with the Dremel a couple of times and caused a little bit of damage, which I've tried to patch up, and the cab doesn't sit completely flush. Here you can see I've detailed one end with the supplied parts. The fact that it's slightly imperfect visually doesn't really bother me because it's such a brilliant runner. The Stay Alive has made such a difference. And when I first had this, it didn't want to work well at all. They really need to be running on DC, so I removed the chip and ran it in on DC, and then I had to remove the circuit board to put a new circuit board in that was easy to solder to, a sort of replacement one, and the Stay Alive's in the cab, and as you'll see a bit later, it stays alive for a long time. It's quite amazing. Got the idea from the channel This Way Works, but I'm so glad I did it. They very rarely went any kind of speed. I think the fastest I ever went was with an 09. Sometimes we'd be shunting over to a place called Chitteneen from Avonmouth, and because you were going onto the main line, you could go up to 25 miles an hour, and yeah, you wouldn't want to go any, you couldn't go any faster because they weren't geared to do that. They couldn't go any faster really, but yeah, it's quite an experience going about 20 miles an hour in a shunter. Quite good. Long before I worked on the railways, I was fond of these locos. I remember the first 08 that Farish produced, and it didn't even have outside frames, so it's they've come on so much. It's a great little loco. I've been into model railways since forever really, because my dad got me into them, and real railways. Here we see a Castle Class, which is the first thing that the first steam loco that Farish produced with sound, and I remember seeing this at the International N Gauge show just before they released it. I was very impressed with the sound. And on Farish's steam locos, you've got two styles of chuffs, which you can switch between. So if one's a little bit loud or harsh, you can switch into another style, which basically replicates the different gear on the steam loco, notching up or down. It replicates that. Yeah, that provides a lot of versatility. Some of the light bars you see in those coaches are by Daypol, and some are by a firm called something like DigiKellis, I think they're called. They had them on special offer at DCC Supplies. I tend to find the Daypol light bars lead to quite warm moves when run on DCC. There are quite a few whistle sounds of various things, but I normally just use one or two. Quite a lot of the time I run my sound fitted locos on DC. Here we see the standard again. Here's a fairly recent release. This is the Farish 10,000, one of the LMS twins. The first one I got of these I did send back. I haven't had a lot of trouble generally with Farish locos, but the first one of these I had was derailing, so I got a new one, and the new one's been great, no problems at all. In fact, I haven't really had problems with Farish sound fitted logos. Apart from this one, I think I can think of one or two others that I've had an issue with, but everything's got sorted in the end, so that's good. The first 8F I bought had to be sent back because the valve gear was locking, but the second one was fine. I do generally send locos back if they're not working very well. My 08 that I bought second hand, so I worked on that till it ran nicely. It was just a case of running it in basically. The sound on 10,000 is really good, but I had that at the same time as the Class 14, and I was amazed how good the Class 14 was in comparison. You know, that might even be slightly better sound, a bit fuller, I would say. Here we see a DMU from Farish. This is a 101 DMU. Their first DMU release with sound was a 108, and I believe it was the first thing they released with sound, the 108. But they've certainly improved, I would say. All their sound fitted locos and units have been good, but this sounds especially good. I think it's got a nice little sort of clatter as it goes over the rail joints, which I really like. The livery is really nice on this one as well. It's very vivid, very well done. Colours are very deep, I find, on these, and a nice satin sheen to them as well. This is a Class 31. Again, a very good sound on this, I think. They did a good job on this, and this loco runs so well. I remember the old versions of these, and they were okay, but then they retooled them, and the first versions of those were a bit noisy, I found, and then this version is absolutely excellent. It's so quiet. If you haven't got sound on, it's silent. For anyone that's not really familiar with N Gauge, or as they tend to call it now, N scale, which I think is an Americanism really. It's very small. It's a loco is like half the size of a 00 loco in length. But it's in mass, it's in volume, I'd say it's an 1/8 of the size of a 00 loco. So they're very small very small and very impressive when you hear the sound coming from these things. Is the Class 40. This was a fairly early release from Farish as far as their sound fitted locos go. The sound originally for this loco was in a blue Farish Class 40, but I swapped it over to a green one. The blue one was sold. Here we see a Farish N Class. They'd released the N Class in this really nice southern livery without smoke deflectors before. And a few years later they released it with sound, with smoke deflectors. Again, an excellent runner at any speed. Found the sound on this loco to be quite soft compared to some. I think the speaker's a little bit smaller, but it sounds excellent. It's a bit quieter. It sounds great. Here's an 8F, another excellent loco. As I say, the first one I had of these, the valve gear locked up, so I just sent it back and got a replacement, which was absolutely perfect. Very full sound on this loco. I think the only thing which detracts from these models being perfect really is maybe parts of the valve gear which are a little bit chunky, and I've seen pictures of the V2 they're bringing out, and I think they're sort of slimming things down a little bit. It's mainly the return crank I think which looks quite bulky on these locos. It came with the snow plough as an extra. I think it really sets off the front of the loco. Great driving from Sarah there. One thing I wanted to comment on was the cab details on these locos. On a YouTube channel, I did see someone saying that there wasn't that much detail on N Gauge locos when it comes to the cabs. Well, I think that would show otherwise there. That's a particularly good one, and the castle's great. The C class is amazing. Some of them are slightly more basic, but they're all good. Some of the older ones weren't painted, but the detail was still there. There's very few N Gauge locos that didn't have detail in the cab over the last few years anyway. When I took the photo of the Ivet though, it was just a black void. The detail's there, but it's not been painted. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comments. I've probably forgotten to say quite a lot of things which I should have said. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.